Goings, founder of Done Dissertation, where we demystify the dissertation process so that you, the doctoral student, can write and defend your dissertation in 1 year or less. Today's episode, we're going to talk about the 3 ways to avoid dissertation procrastination over the summer break. Because one thing I do know, right now is the time when you're starting to go on your vacations. There's opportunities to do all the cookouts and barbecues, and you got to take an opportunity to really sit back and see what opportunities are great for me and which opportunities do I need to put to the side so that I can finish my dissertation. But I know that there are so many things coming at you. It might be hard to make sense of it and how to really get through and overcome the procrastination that might set in during the summer break. And this episode of From ABD to PhD is sponsored by our new online mini course called Design Your Done Dissertation. We used to run this live, and now this is available to you all for purchase, where you can actually sit with the training and actually have access to it. So if you're interested in learning more, go to www.designyourdissertation.com. The training is a 4-hour training with the purpose to give you the roadmap and the infrastructure to complete your dissertation and give you the lay of the land of how to create a plan and how to avoid some of the roadblocks I'm going to talk about in today's episode in order to finish your dissertation. So if you want to learn more and get access to the course, you can scan the QR code here, or you can go to www.designyourdissertation.com. And again, I'm looking forward to this episode because there's so many of us that are right now trying to figure out what to do and how to go about it. And procrastination is easy just to set in right now. So I think this will be a great opportunity for you all to chat about this. So what I want you to do, as always, if you're watching this live, go ahead and drop who you are in the chat. If you're watching this on the replay, go ahead and let me know who you are, chiming in, where you're coming from, and where you are in your doctoral journey. And again, today's episode, we're going to talk about the 3 ways to avoid dissertation procrastination over the summer break. So I think what's important when we're thinking about how to overcome this procrastination that sets in during this process, particularly during the summer, is that first things first, you have to assess and get an understanding of what's holding you back. Because what I find, a lot of students are procrastinating, not necessarily because they don't know what to do, but they have so many things in their mind about what they need to do or how they want to approach it. It's hard to know where exactly to start from. And so for many of you all, this might be the thing that's holding you up from getting things accomplished because you are just so concerned with, like, look, I got all these competing interests. I don't even know where to start. And what I would imagine you to imagine, right, is that you're on a road and you're traveling. And along this road, it's a windy road, and you're doing your thing. You're going along the path. And then what ends up happening is that there are just these boulders that keep popping up everywhere. And when you get to the boulder, you look at the boulder, you say, all right, I got several options. I go through the boulder, see what happens to my vehicle. I go around the boulder to the left or around to the right. And for some of us, when we hit these boulders in our dissertation process, sometimes we get so stuck because we got so many options, and then it becomes overwhelming on what to do. And then a lot of times we don't know what's the right path. So instead of just choosing one and making a step forward in the process, or even just observing what the options are, we just get stuck in just thinking about what we should do. And for many of us, it's hard to know like what the actual problem is. In this case, the boulder, if we're in the road, that's the problem that's in your way. But for a lot of us who are experiencing setbacks in the process, sometimes we don't know what the problem is. And for some of you all, it might be really taking an assessment of the skill sets that you have or you don't have at this point. Because for some of you, you know, the barrier might just be your belief and confidence in yourself. For many of our clients, I would say that is often a case of something that's really impacting them and impacting a lot of you all as doc students, myself included. And we don't think about that part. We think about it as, oh, I just need to do some writing, or I have a writing deficiency. I'm not a good writer. But really, if you peel back the layers, it's about confidence. For some of y'all, it might be technical skill. Like, you know, you've set out to do this fancy study. You know, you have all these different, you know, complex analyses, and you just realize you might not have the skill set at this time to complete that analysis. And so these are the things that I want you all to start considering. And half the battle in the dissertation process is figuring out what's holding you back. For instance, I had a client recently who was just stuck because they were waiting for feedback from a committee member on one chapter, but they thought that because they were waiting for that committee member's feedback, that it kind of prevented them from going to the other chapters that they needed to work on. And when we had our conversation, it was like, no, while you're waiting for that feedback, while you think that might impact these other chapters, when we take a look, whatever feedback they're going to give on that chapter by itself will not drastically impact the rest of the work you need to do. So you go ahead and move forward. And I think that particular student had a sense of clarity after our very brief conversation to realize that, hey, I just need to keep moving this thing forward little by little. And what you will turn to happen is that once you identify what it is and assess what's holding you back, it becomes easier then to step into and create a solution to solve it. And for those of you all, who have not figured it out on what the roadblock is, this might be an opportunity just to take a time to sit down and engage in some reflection. Have a list about all the things that might get in your way of you experiencing the success that you want to experience or the goal that you have for yourself. And talk about what's happening. For some of you all might be parents, taking care of relatives, taking care of children, spouses, the busy work schedule. I know for some of our clients, they're very busy at work, so that impacts their time to write. So sometimes it's figuring out, what is my time? What time do I really have right now? And then working everything around it. But at first, it has to be you taking a true look at what's happening and really writing down your thoughts so that you can get a sense of clarity. So again, for those who are just tuning in on this episode from ABD to PhD, we're talking about the 3 ways to avoid dissertation procrastination during the summer break. And again, we first talked about the belief that you have to first identify what is the block. And it might take some brainstorming, but you have to figure that out first. And this episode from ABD to PhD is sponsored by our new course that is available for purchase called Design Your Done Dissertation. It's a 4-hour training that will help you create the roadmap and plan in order to get your dissertation done. So if anybody who's ever attended this particular training live when we've done it in the past knows about the impact it can have in really giving you the boost to get things moving forward in your dissertation journey. So if you're someone who wants to get access to this training, you can go ahead and grab it at www.designyourdissertation.com and make sure you grab your copy. Again, and definitely share this with a friend. If you have other friends who need support, this is a great place to start. It actually has an interactive workbook that you can have to really map out and plan out everything that will impact your process, including these barriers around procrastination. And so make sure that you grab your copy at www.designyourdissertation.com. And so the second piece I want to talk about when we talk about 3 ways to prevent dissertation procrastination during the summer is that once you assess where you are, the second piece is that you have to create a plan and follow it. Because here's what I do know. In our Design Your Done Dissertation course that you can have access to, it gives you the whole roadmap on how to create the plan. But I know for a number of us, we create the plan and then we don't follow through with the plan. But first things first, we have to create a plan. And when I ask students, when I go on workshops and do talks around the country, I ask students about what's holding you back and what's your plan to address it. And oftentimes the most frequent response that I hear from folks is that either I don't have a plan or my plan is I'm just going to do some writing every day and that's it. And because that plan is so broad, it doesn't have any specificity with it. And so when you're not specific, you don't know what to do to get it done. And so this is why creating a detailed plan is so really important. A plan really takes just the daily thought and work out of trying to get things accomplished. But for many of us, you have to be willing to, again, write it down. And then you have to be willing to do some action towards completing the task that you have set out in that plan. For some of our clients, I'll just give you some examples, is that, for some folks, it might not just be, I need to write, but folks are saying, all right, I know my schedule is busy. I just had this conversation with a new client that joined us. They had travel coming up during the week. And they said, well, I'm traveling these 2 days out of the week and I have meetings another 2. So we looked at their schedule. All right, how are you traveling to the destination? Well, I'm traveling via train. Perfect. So on the train ride, just engage in the writing for 1 hour out of your train ride. That way you have the writing done for the day. And when you get to your destination, you don't have to worry about it. And then they saw that, when I'm actually engaged in the meetings, I know I'm going to be burnt out. So maybe I'll get up a half hour earlier to do some writing before my meetings start. This way, when you start to have a plan in place, it makes things so much easier. That's why you know where to go and what to do. This is why having a trainer or having a coach, whatever, if you're like in fitness, having a trainer. But if you're stuck in this process, this is why having a coach is so important, because they can give you the roadmap and really lay out the plan that you can execute. Again, when you know the details and you start to take actionable steps, it makes things so much easier. And one thing I do know with our clients who are most successful in our program, they are folks who not only are willing to create a plan, but they're willing to create action for themselves. And that means doing the little bit each and every day that gets them one step closer to finishing their dissertation. And again, this is one of the ways that you avoid procrastination. Because imagine that you had your list of what the barriers are, you start to actually create a plan, and then you start to take some action. Now you're actually moving in the right direction. For many of us, it just takes us to get off the starting block and actually create action. Like for instance, I had a client recently who joined after reaching out to us about 2.5 years ago, right? And what they recognized, and initially they were saying, well, I've just been so far behind, I haven't done anything in the last 2 years. But then my comment and feedback was just like, all it takes is today to make the change and make the start. And literally, that's what they did. They started doing the writing. And then before they knew it, a week later, they had one full section. So their dissertation was broken up to the number of sections. This one section was fully complete with the edits and additions that they had to do when we gave them feedback. This is what can happen when you have a plan and you're willing to act and execute on it. But again, it takes a very special type of person to do that. And those are the clients we want to work with. So if you are someone who is ready to take action, you want a supportive environment, but you're just not sure about the mechanics and how to get that goal that you want to do, I would most certainly invite you to apply to work with us in our Done Dissertation Velocity Group Coaching Program, which is a 4-month coaching experience with the goal to help you write and defend your dissertation proposal or your dissertation in 4 months. So if you're interested in learning more, you can visit www.velocitydissertation.com to learn more about our program and to apply to work with us. Again, we want people who take action, who are all about getting to where they want to with their careers and know that they want to get this doctorate done and out of the way. And so with that, if you have any questions, pop them in the comments. I will go ahead after this live is over and respond to you all in the comments because I definitely want to engage with you all and hear some more about what you all have going on. But definitely drop whatever questions or comments that you have just so I can see them and respond to them, and we'll engage in more conversation. And so again, for those who are just tuning in, we are talking about the 3 ways to avoid dissertation procrastination during the summer break. And so the third way, once we have to identify what the problem is and what our block is that's holding us back, and then we create a plan and are starting to take action on the plan, the third way to avoid procrastination during the summer break is to build a rock solid accountability structure. And what I mean by that is that, I understand that doing hard things, it sucks, y'all. I'm not lying to you. I'm in the process right now of doing more training in terms of physical training. And it's hard, man. When you don't want to get up in the morning and do the training and do the workouts, I get it. So I understand what it's like trying to sit down and do the writing. And it's like, oh, I don't want to do that. I have so many other things that bring me joy that I could be doing with my time. And, writing is not one of them, right? That might be you in that case. And it could be so comfortable in that moment to just say, you know what, I'll do it tomorrow. Or the timing is not right. It's just our human nature, right? We're just wired to avoid hard things. It's nothing wrong with that. There are a number of things. While I can do the dissertation in academic writing comes easy to me, there are other things that come very hard. So I understand completely. And I've been where you all have been as well, as someone who struggled as an academic writer trying to figure out this process. But sometimes what ends up happening is that you can only go so far by yourself. So sometimes you need an outside force of some instance to keep you focused, keep you motivated, and pushing towards completing your plan, even in the instances when you don't want to move forward. And I know this happens all of the time. We see it over and over and over again from our clients, and we just know that's happening, right? And so in my book on 14 Secrets to a Done Dissertation, and also in the online course, Design Your Done Dissertation, which you can grab, is that I talk about the importance of building out what I call your done dissertation team. This is so important. Having a team is really important. And the done dissertation team aspect, which you can learn more in depth about in the course on Design Your Done Dissertation, is all about having the components within the university setting and outside the university setting that sets you up for success. Because many of you all have been trying to go at this alone. And I just heard this from another client today when we had our conversation. They mentioned that, hey, I was in a cohort for 2 years, and then all of a sudden we finished our coursework, and then we're all scattered by ourselves at this point. And it's just like, what happened to all the community that I had? It's all now gone. And what we know is that for our folks who really finished faster, they figured out ways to develop a community and an accountability structure that's multi-pronged in order to finish this process. And that's what we explain in the Design Your Done Dissertation workshop and training that you have access to, because we know that sometimes it's hard, who needs to be on my team? What are the components? And you need these people because they're going to keep you sane mentally during this process, and they're going to help, motivate you academically to keep pushing, because there are times when you don't want to finish this process. It's just flat out the truth. So if you've experienced that, you are not alone. I was right with you. Shout out to my accountability partner, Dr. Larry Walker, who we did our doctoral program together at Morgan State, and he was definitely my accountability crutch in terms of the academic side, man. Like we went through this process together, and we just knew that, hey, if we have each other and we are willing to, really move this process and take the steps to do our writing and really engage in this thoughtful work, that we will finish quicker. And it took having that community and having that support in order to finish. But for many of us, you're trying to do this all alone and you don't have the accountability. And for some of us, it might just be like, look, if I'm left to my own devices, I'll do what I always have done. And for some of you all, it might be time to create an accountability structure. It might be time to get that support. It might be time to figure out what that team would look like. For a select few of you all, you might decide like, hey, I really want the whole setup that you all are doing at Done Dissertation in order to help me finish. And so if you want the community and you want that accountability structure, not only outside the university, not only with, colleagues, but also with folks across the world who are really dedicated to finishing their dissertation, I would invite you to apply to the Done Dissertation Velocity Group Coaching Program. You can learn more about our program, which is a 4-month coaching experience with the goal to help you write and defend either your dissertation proposal or final dissertation over the next 4 months. You can learn more about the program and apply to work with us at www.velocitydissertation.com, or you can pause the video or just scan the QR code that is here on the screen. And so with that, just to recap, today we talked about the 3 ways to avoid dissertation procrastination during the summer break. Way number 1 is that first you have to identify what the roadblocks and barriers are to your success. Step 2 is then you have to create a plan and act on the plan. And then step 3 is that you have to have a rock solid accountability structure. When you put all 3 of these things together, you are unstoppable in this process. But for many of us, it just is us getting out of our own way and getting things started. And for many of us, it's like, how do I do that? What do I want to do? And with that, before I wrap up, I want to remind you all that for folks that are part of our Done Dissertation community via our text messaging platform and or a part of our community via our email community, you will have access and learn more about our Done Dissertation Summer School Series, which is happening in the month of July. And so we are going to have 4 workshops just for our community, for folks who are actively involved with us. And we're going to teach you some of the things around academic writing. We're going to have one session dedicated to literature reviews, developing your theoretical and conceptual frameworks, as well as managing feedback from the committee. We want to be able to help during the summer so that you can avoid that procrastination. I know July in particular is one of those months where it happens. So if you're someone that wants to learn more, you can scan the QR code. Again, get into our community. If you want to be on our text message list, we do a lot of different things for our text message community, including we oftentimes what we will do is you get weekly affirmations on Sundays. I send those out. And if you're interested in learning more about Summer School Series and want to be on our list to make sure that you learn more about and get information to our private event, text hashtag summer school to 301-701-2466, or you can scan the QR code that is on the screen. Either way is cool. You will be in our community. And yes, it's myself and Renee and our team who are actually looking at the text messages. So when you text us, it is us, and I will respond to you all. Again, I like to keep up with what you all have going on. But again, I want to say thank you so much for tuning into this episode. If you have questions, comments, drop them in the comments wherever you're watching this on YouTube. If you're in our YouTube community, thank you so much. If you are not part of our YouTube community quite yet, go to YouTube and just type in Done Dissertation and subscribe. That way you'll get access to when we go live with more of these types of videos and trainings. And if there are any trainings that you want to do and you're part of our text message community, text me. Let me know about some other topics that you want to hear more about, because we're always interested in learning more about what you all want to hear and what will be of immense value to you all as you go through the process. But again, drop your comments. I'll be on the lookout for this here shortly. I'm going to loop back around and I will respond to you all then. But until next week, I want to say thank you all so much for dropping in and checking out this episode from ABD to PhD. Lastly, before I finish up, there are a lot of doctoral students who want to finish the process. You might be one of them, and you're just trying to figure out how to do it. And you've tried all the ways that you can yourself. You tried the free ways, you tried the low cost ways, and recognize that those don't give you the support, the infrastructure, and the mindset needed to finish this process. So if that is you and you really want to do something different, like I only want to work with clients and our coaches only want to work with clients who want to do something different with the journey and finish. So if that is you, we want you to be part of our community. We thrive on folks like you who want to be like that. And so if that is you, I want you to visit www.velocitydissertation.com, or you can scan a QR code right here to learn more about our program and to click the button to apply. Again, there's no cost to apply. We will review your application. If we find that you are a fit for what we do, we will respond with next steps on how to work with us. But again, it takes for you all to take that first step in order to reach out and get the support. So don't let you not being willing to get help, or you feeling like you've been stuck so long that it precludes you from getting help. Even for folks who have reached out to us in the past and decided not to join our program, we want you all to come back because we want people to be done with their dissertations. Again, our goal is to help at least 1,000 doctoral students write and defend their dissertation. And so if you are stuck in this process, we know that we can help. We know our system works, and we want to be here to provide that support for you. So again, if you're interested in this, go ahead and visit www.velocitydissertation.com, or you can scan the QR code. And again, I want to say thank you so much for watching this episode of From ABD to PhD Show. I'm your host, Dr. Ramon Goings, founder of Done Dissertation, where we demystify the dissertation process so that you, the doctoral student, can write and defend your dissertation in 1 year or less. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of From ABD to PhD. Take care.